Hello and welcome to Retrotainment, episode 10. This week we're joined again by Greg. How you doing, bud?
All right, mate.
Yeah, you've had two great choices here in the last while. So you said this week I should choose one. So we've gone for the 1994 classic Ace Ventura.
All righty then.
This was
Cracking choice.
Yeah, this is kind of the film that launched Jim Carrey to stardom. He'd had a couple of roles before this, but never anything where he was the main guy, and this is the one that kind of launched him. There's a lot of people who don't like this film, but
I can see that. It's if you're into that type of comedy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I always look at the ratings, and this has a 49% out of 61 critics and a 57% out of audience score on Rotten Tomatoes.
But that's not surprising. It's a better movie than it scores, but if you're not into that type of what would you say, stupid comedy?
Yeah, it's real childish, like, toilet humor comedy.
Yeah, that's it.
That seems to be the main complaint. Like, nobody, like, all the bad reviews seem to be, I don't like this style of comedy. And I get, like,
it's not a fair assumption. Like, the movie isn't bad. Well, there's plot holes to it. And
there is plot holes, but
it's a good movie in terms of enjoyment and.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing. Like, this is what I was saying. Why I don't really base whether I'm going to watch a film off a rating or anything, because if you're someone who dislikes this form of comedy, then you're not going to like this film. If you don't like horror films, you can't mark a horror film down. You can't dislike horror films and then mark them all poorly and go, I don't really like horror films, they're too scary, and then say this was bad because it was scary. Well, no, that's the point of it. It's meant to be scary.
I don't trust anybody that doesn't like horror movies, and that's a fact.
Yeah, but that, like, you know what I mean. If you don't like horror, you can't turn around and go 1 out of 10. That film was a horror, and I don't like horrors. If you don't like this style of comedy, that's fine. You don't have to, but I don't think you should be, especially if you're a critic and that's your job. I don't think that should be what you're marking things down on. It was the same as the Mighty Ducks getting marked down for being too childish.
Yeah, that's fucking
kids
stupid.
Film, guys. Like, that's what more do you want from these people? Like, it's a kids film.
This is a sort of a teenage say up to 16.
So this film came out and it was I think it was either 12s or 15s, and you can tell that's the audience it's aimed at.
Probably would have been older than that, but it was 15s that he came in late. Probably been the 15, 16 or 16s that he came in, wasn't it?
Oh, it might have been 16s then. Yeah, it's not 18s anyway, is what I mean. But that's it's aimed at that generation, like mid to late teens.
Males.
Yeah, it is realistically like males. It's more of a male humor where, butt jokes and farts and stuff are funny,
Yeah.
And if you don't like that, you don't like that. But I don't think it's a reason to say it's not good. And you can see how well it did. Like, this in a box office, it did 107.2 million.
Did it go that high? Did it?
It did, yeah. So
Jesus, I didn't think it was that high.
Yeah, and when you look at it, like, as I said, this is Jim Carrey's kind of big breakout film. Now, the other big actress in this is, of course, Courtney Cox, who people will say, oh, well, she was quite famous at this time.
Yeah.
But the thing is that Friends was released after this.
94.
Friends is released 94 as well, but it's released late 94, whereas this was released early 94. So this is before Friends was released. So it's not based on her success in Friends that did that well, and that's realistically what she's best known for.
I'm just checking.
I know she's in Scream and things, but they come after.
That's what I was just checking. Scream came out in 96, so I'd imagine between this, I'd say she'd already been cast in Friends.
She'd been cast, I'd say, yeah, but the show hadn't come out yet, so you can't base the success of the film on that. Like, you can't go, well, it was successful because of her. She plays her part, but it was going to be a good show anyway. Yeah, the box office money isn't because of the success of Friends is basically what I'm getting at. So you can see how well this film did, even though a lot of people don't seem to like it. It's kind of if you're into this, as we said, if you're into this comedy sort of style of comedy, you're into it and you think it's funny.
I find I find a lot of people either love Jim Carrey or hate Jim Carrey. There's not a whole lot of in between with him.
Yeah, there was a lot of people saying that as well. They're like, I don't like Jim Carrey's style of comedy, and that's fine. Like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. But again, it's not a reason to. Well, it is a reason to dislike a film, but it's not a reason to give it a bad
A
review.
bad rap.
Yeah,
I'm
like I
just, I'm
wouldn't give
just
it a bad
checking. I'm just
review
checking to
because you
see
didn't like
what
it.
else Courtney Cox was in before this.
I don't think she was in anything particularly big before this. I think this might be her big break as well. Well, obviously, Friends is her real big break, but I think this is the.
Dream On.
Never
The
heard
TV
of it.
show went on for 6 years. I don't know what she plays in it. Curiosity Kills. If Tuesday's a must, something else. I'll be home for Christmas. No, there's not a whole lot here.
No,
Um,
I
there
mean,
was one.
Friends is obviously her biggest thing, but
The Trouble with Larry. Yeah, there's not a whole lot in this.
there's nothing there that stands out as a big.
No, even for me, like I watch a lot of movies, but there's a lot of stuff here that I haven't. Blue Desert.
Mm.
Cocoon 2, The Return. It was 1988.
Yeah,
Cocoon 1 was brilliant. 2 was very forgettable.
she's been like she was around a good while before this, but I still don't think she'd hit her stride until around this time, really.
Yeah,
Friends is obviously when she really hits her stride and becomes the
even
global star that she becomes. But
even then, I don't even think she was the biggest actress in Friends for the first couple of years. You know that kind of way. Jennifer Aniston had peaked hers off when she went Leprechaun, and I think that was her first breakout role.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
And then there was a couple others. Now I know Courtney Cox went into it. Obviously in the Scream franchise, and then having just found out she was in Cocoon 2. So that kind of way.
Yeah.
It's strange, but like I think the cast really worked really well in this one.
Yeah. Now the only criticism I seen that like seemed kind of more valid is that some people said that they felt a lot of the jokes here are shoehorned in. And I do get that. Like there is points where the joke is clearly just being made just to they had the joke in mind and were like, we need to get that in somewhere.
There's a good bit of it, like I find that a lot with him.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things being like, he forces joke, it's coming.
Yeah.
And he'll try and ram it down. Especially with Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber was obviously.
It's the same kind of comedy, obviously, again, but it's kind of shoved down your throat that he's an idiot.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. Like the whole point is that he's an idiot, but in this, he's both an idiot
and a genius.
And it's like he's a genius at solving things, but in terms of social interactions, he's an absolute idiot.
Yeah.
A
man that likes his animals, I suppose.
Yeah. It starts with him stealing a dog from some guy's house.
Technically, he does not steal. He reacquires a stolen dog.
Yeah, but we don't know that at the start. So at the start, we see him knock up to some guy's house, and the dog is barking, and he has something under his. He's in
the UPS thing, and he's coming along with the
this
box.
Fragile box that he's just kicking along the road and dropping it everywhere and stuff.
And you see him down the American football bit where you're mad, and the homeless guy sitting on the step, and he's like 21, rolls around him and then throws it back down the steps, and he's like,
whoops.
Into the elevator he goes, doors close.
It's great. It's real, like, just dumb, like it is. It's just dumb comedy. And he gets up, and the dog is sitting at the door barking at him, and your man's like, "Hey, shut up," to the dog. And then he leaves, and the dog. We see your man in his apartment, and he's like, "Get away from that door, dog!" And he goes over to do something to the dog, and then it turns out it's a fake dog.
Now, what I found there was, I don't know, they never really refer to it, but when you see him, when he's obviously signing, he's saying this is the insurance form. I'm thinking that's the papers to say that he's taking the dog.
Quite possibly, yeah. I don't know.
He gets them back, and you see him going, sign here, initial here, here, and here.
Yeah, and then he goes, "I'll fill out the rest of it."
Yeah. To me, I thought that was
could very well be, yeah, because it's the sort of thing that's dumb enough to work, but also you'd have to be smart enough to think to do it.
Albeit I was watching The Office today, and it's the episode when Dwight's trying to get everyone to sign the apology letter, and he's
Yeah.
like, "I only need Phyllis." And he's like, "Can you just sign in here, please?"
Yeah, gets the signature and off he goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gets the dog and he brings it back. Well, obviously your man chases him down and
Busts up his car.
breaks up his car, but he brings the dog back to what presumably is your man's ex-girlfriend.
And a nice, solid-looking lady, we'll
Yeah.
say.
See, this is where this sort of film probably wouldn't be able to get made again, because it's very obvious that it's like
It has a bit of raunchiness in it, all right.
It's not even the raunchiness, it's the whole thing of like, oh, this is how she would pay him, like, you know.
Yeah, it's like a low, cheap budget porno.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't get away with that now, but
Now, the funny thing here was when she's like, "I can do something else to pay for you," and she gets down out of the camera view. So you leave that to the imagination. But
leaves that to the imagination, but he's swinging around on the door frame.
You can hear, like, she obviously goes to undo his trousers and whatnot, but when you see him swinging around, his trousers are clearly gone still.
Yeah, well, that's the low budget, Greg. But we get into the proper story of the film here, and we see
you see him
a dolphin.
No, you see him sneaking by his landlord to try and get in with the
well,
bush.
yeah, he gets, as the image shows, he has a lot of animals in his apartment, but he's not allowed to have any animals.
Yeah, he gives the all keys the tree twist rattle.
Yeah, he's trained all his animals to hide exceptionally well.
The funny thing here is, though, the landlord comes in, looks around, there's a fucking doggy dog getting into the freezer.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Why is that there?
Yeah,
but yeah, we get into the film proper and we see what the real story is, and it's a dolphin.
Yeah. Snowflake
the dolphin, who is the mascot of
the Miami
We're not told straight away, but like, yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. It's an American football team. So we're thinking it's got to be the Miami Dolphins. So
Seattle Seahawks.
Seahawks, yeah. So it's the Miami Dolphins, who are obviously a huge franchise in the NFL. Although
at that time they were, yeah.
Yeah, big time franchise in the NFL. Check out the Under Center podcast for all your NFL stuff. Nice cheap plug there, lads. There you go. But yeah, we see that it's a dolphin, and it's with the Miami Dolphins, who at that time weren't
big.
They were big, but they weren't particularly successful around the 94.
They haven't been really successful anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they were successful back in the late 80s, I think.
Yeah,
maybe
when Dan Marino was at his height.
But they weren't particularly successful in 94, but they obviously still had a bit of a.
Oh, they have a huge following.
Yeah, they still had a following.
They have a huge following. They always had. They have 2 Super Bowl championships, 73 to 74.
Yeah, and then they lost. They obviously lose the one that's referred to throughout this film, where they won the
AFC championship.
The AFC championship, and then lose in the
which is
final.
Basically the equivalent to the semi-final for people that don't know anything about the NFL.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know. It seems to be kind of like,
so you've got
two different leagues, and you win your league, and you get a medal for winning your league, and then you go and play the final sort of thing.
Yeah. So basically, you play. So you have 2 conferences: the AFC and the NFC.
Yeah.
And you play everyone in your conference. So like it'll break it down to the AFC West, AFC East. So whatever league you're in, you have those 3 teams to play twice, and then you'll play either the NFC West, NFC East, whatever, whoever turn it is to play, and then you'll play a couple other teams, and then it'll go that way.
Yeah.
But then all the AFC teams play each other in the knockout rounds, and the NFC play them, and then the winner of the NFC and the winner of the AFC
go on to the Super Bowl. Yeah. But yeah, so we see that Snowflake has been stolen.
Snaky Dolphins.
Yeah, but they call in Ace Ventura, who is the best pet detective and the only pet detective. So he's probably the worst as well.
They call him in whilst he's on hunt for an albino pigeon that's worth 25 grand.
Yeah, but he's both the best and worst pet detective, because he's the only one. So I mean, it's a pretty it's a niche market, but he he
Well,
does
no,
well.
I wouldn't say he's the only one because they do refer to other ones in it.
No,
They're
they do.
like,
They refer to other kind of detectives, but they do like other work as well. He just solely works on animals.
yeah, and he's somehow living in quite a nice apartment somewhere in
Well, I mean,
Miami.
if he's getting 25 grand for rescuing one bird, I mean, like you could spend 6 weeks getting that bird, and then you get 25 grand. So
Yeah,
suppose it works out.
you gotta catch wild birds though. Well, not a pet bird, but out in the
Yeah, but
wild.
he's good at that stuff, Greg.
Sometimes.
Yeah, he gets there in the end. He when he goes to when they call him in and he goes to investigate, and this is a bit I kind of forgot about. They bring him in and he's like, "Can I get in that tank?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And he goes to get down in the tank and he's like, "If I'm not back in 5 minutes,
Just wait.
just wait longer." And like I'd completely forgot. Like there's a lot of quotes from this. Like obviously there's the "Alrighty then," and
Yeah, that's
when he
where it came
says
from. Yeah,
yeah, and then "Lehu her," but I'd completely forgotten about this.
where
I'm
he's in
not
the
back in
tank.
5 minutes. Just wait longer.
Yeah.
But he's in the tank and there's nothing in the tank. He's just kind of
Well,
walking around in it.
the cops have drained it.
Yeah,
They say,
he's just wandered around in it,
but they're trying to keep it under wraps from the press, and then all of a sudden the press are coming,
and
and they're
he's
like,
still in it.
get out of the tank, Ace." He's like, "I just can't do it, Captain.
Yeah.
I'm giving it everything she's got."
Yeah, he's just kind of ripping off from other shows and stuff. I think that's Star Trek, and that one in particular, Star Trek. He's just kind of, and that's what it is. He's obviously it gives him a bit of character. Like this is what he enjoys is shows like this, so he quotes them because that's what real people are like. If they like something and an opportunity comes to quote it, they quote it.
I do it quite regularly in work.
Yeah, like everyone does, but there's nothing in the tank, and then he gets out and he finds something in the where they've drained it.
In the filter, yeah.
Yeah, just in the filter, there's a little diamond. Now we don't know what it's from. We just find this little diamond, and that's the only clue he's got for locating who has stolen this dolphin.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty elaborate to get a dolphin out without anybody noticing, I suppose.
Yeah, especially inside the stadium. No, don't get me wrong. The dolphin wasn't actually kept inside the stadium, I don't think. But sure, look.
Well, the tank seems to be in the stadium, so
yeah,
presumably he's being kept there. But I don't think that's really what would be happening. But
I'd imagine Peter would have something to do with it.
Yeah, he finds this, and then obviously the police have been called in. The actual local police have been called in because it's a theft. So he goes down to the local police station and they all think he's a joke. None of them think he's a real detective, and they all give him a hard time, joking, and then stand on the cockroach. Yeah, which he doesn't take too kindly to.
Which says a lot about how clean that police station was, to be honest.
Yeah, it really does. Doesn't paint a good picture, but
LaGuardia steps on it. Yeah.
Yeah, he he gets the better of them with his quick wit and humor. Then he goes over and it's time for his ass to start talking to people, and this is stuff that people will hate because this is what I mean when I say real toilet childish humor. I can imagine when I watch this now, I think it's funny because I remember it from when I was younger. But I would imagine that if you were somebody's parent and this film had just come out and you'd brought them to see it, you'd be looking at this and you'd be like, "What the hell is going on here? Like, what is this nonsense that I've let my child watch?"
But the child obviously
thinks it's hilarious.
I'd say there was a fair amount of detention given out in schools around this time.
I would say so. Yeah, I would say there was a lot of trouble after this came out with people doing that.
But that scene starts with a cop, a detective, actually sitting reading a file. The camera pans out and he's just bent over beside him.
Yeah, and he's just the great bit about this is that he's he tells him to stop, and then he sits down on the chair and he's like, "Well, I can't keep him down much longer."
And then you get word that the captain is coming.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Hey, stop,
stop!" And then he obviously gives him the information he wants, which is who is working on the case. And of course it's going to be somebody that he doesn't get along with, somebody he's just smushed his face into the ground beside a cockroach
and made him kiss it.
Yeah, of course it's going to be that guy that's looking after the case, isn't it?
Yeah, so which would tell you he's obviously a really good copper.
Yeah,
Because that's going to be a big case around Miami.
yeah, exactly. Like that's a huge case. Like this is, they're
This
trying to
is
keep it under wraps and everything. But
especially on Super Bowl week.
yeah, the Dolphins, I don't believe were in the Super Bowl, actually in the Super Bowl that year.
No,
So
they
I
weren't.
don't think I don't think they did very well at all. Um,
They don't do very well at all anymore.
no, they don't. But he's, I don't know. It's weird. Like they're all terrified of the captain. Well, your man that he's talking to is terrified of the captain because the captain obviously hates Ace Ventura, but Ace just doesn't
care.
Like just he doesn't care about anybody else. He's just whatever.
We meet Einhorn.
Yeah, Einhorn, who is the
Einhorn.
captain. Yeah, she's the captain. Takes no shit from anybody, and tells him to get out. Pretty much, just
like screaming at Ace.
Yeah, just get out. All right. He doesn't really seem to care too much, but from the small bit of information he has, which is obviously the diamond, and who's working on the case, he then goes to this underground lair.
It's in the middle of a heavy metal club, and he's bouncing around. And in the shirt that you can see behind you there, he's bouncing around in a mosh pit and goes down the stairs
into this kind of just this dingy thing where your man has all of this equipment. And we don't this is the only time we see this guy.
He's using it to track people that are whaling.
Yeah, and send them off course.
Yeah.
But he uses this to get the information to who has bought a load of stuff for a tank that could hold a dolphin. And they find out it is the ex. I don't know if this is an actual ex-NFL player, is it?
No, he's not an NFL player. He was an ex-owner, was he not? He wanted to buy the Dolphins.
No, because would the owner have got a ring, a Super Bowl ring, or
no, the owner should technically? I think the owner buys the rings, so he could
maybe
buy himself a ring.
Possibly, but he has one anyway, as we discover later on. But he's
So he rings up Courtney Cox and he gets himself an invite to the hottest party in town.
Yeah, to this massive, massive house, and she has to claim he's her date, and asks him, can you please behave yourself? And we see from the start he's not going to behave himself. Yeah. He's given the butler or whoever it is. I don't know if it's a butler or whatever it is. Whoever's opening the door, he's given him a pretty hard time straight off the bat. Yeah. He goes snooping around the house, and
he goes to the bathroom.
Says he's upset stomach.
Well, he pretends to be a lawyer, and he's like, "Do you know how you can make the most money? By people who sue people that have parties."
Yeah.
And then he maintains
he gets sick of the food.
Yeah, he goes over and he's eating. He's like, "I gotta go to the bathroom." Maybe it was the pate.
Yeah, but he goes snooping around the house and finds a large tank, which definitely is going to contain Snowflake, and that's going to be the end of the film. Definitely
has to be. It's 200,000 liter tank. Yeah. In the middle of a house. It has to be.
Nothing else could be in there. Nope. Jaws.
The man has a great white shark
just swimming around in his house.
Well, it looks like a great white shark. I'm pretty sure it's going to say it's great white shark.
I'm going to assume it is.
Again,
we don't hear anything different.
The only time you see this in the film.
Yeah, again, it's never brought up again. He doesn't say to your man, "Why the hell do you have a big shark in your house? Like, what's going on here?" No, that's fine. Like, yeah, it's not the dolphin I was looking for. You can keep that shark. It's fine.
So you see him getting dragged around the tank, and he's getting spun around as if he's being dragged left, right, and centre.
Yeah, like this is where there's a slight inconsistency. I mean, if a shark is dragging you around like that, you're not going to be able to just walk out with your clothes ripped up a little bit. You're going to be missing a leg at least.
Yeah, or
as we've seen in Jaws, which we've done a previous episode on, a shark gets its mouth around you, you ain't getting out without losing a limb.
Or at least be cut open to bits.
Yeah, but
anyway,
all he has is a few cuts, and he's a bit wet. He comes back out of the bathroom. No one questions that his toilets are in ruin, and he makes an excuse as that something apparently came up and attacked him from the toilet.
And he's like, "Do not go in there."
But I don't know what's meant to have attacked him, because he makes the excuse that something's attacked him, and your man keeps apologizing. But we never find out what's meant to have come from the toilet to attack him and leave him in such a state.
And then this is when he walks out, is when he finds the ring on
when he goes to shake his
the
hand,
owner.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he
He
knocks
kind
it
of
off.
harasses him.
Yeah, he harasses him and knocks the ring off, and that's when he discovers
That's what it is.
that's what the ring is. It belongs to. See, that's what I think he might have been. Possibly he was the owner then, or he was a player back when they won in the 80s. I'm not sure.
Maybe they don't. I think they really allude to it that he wants to buy it. He's part of the syndicate that wants to buy it or something.
Yeah, but then he wouldn't. Even if he was only a syndicate that wanted to buy it, then he wouldn't have the ring,
Well, he
which
could
is
have
why
been
I think.
no, because all staff get it. So any of the management staff, or he could have been backroom staff, or
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. But yeah, he has the ring, and that's where he discovers this is where this little diamond is from. So he gets a picture of the team, and he goes to investigate each member of it in various ways. One is he just hassles some guy in a car until he flips him off, whips out a pair of binoculars.
That's
Nope,
not it.
he has all of them, and off he goes.
The
The
next
next one, he's trying to run beside some guy who just keeps running faster. He can't catch him.
and he keeps falling over. Yeah, that's number 2. Then it goes to the guy in the sauna.
Yeah. Then the guy in the bathroom where he's like
looks
trying to look over, and your man just looks at him,
and gives him the nod.
gives him the nod, and then see, this is again where you'd probably be in a little bit of trouble today. He kind of does the joke is clearly that your man is meant to be gay because he does the dainty run out, which I mean, he's an NFL player. I can't imagine that's how that guy was running.
Then you have the guy that he pisses off, punches him in the face. He goes in and checks his head.
Yeah. Then
it's back to the running.
Back to the running again, still fails. Then it's the arm wrestling guy where he has to use both arms to try and get.
He gets fired through a table.
Gets fired like all the way across the room, and eventually he gets your man who's running, who is the last person he needs to check, by just running up behind him and dousing him with chloroform.
And he's holding and he's swinging and his legs are going. Oh, it's brilliant!
But,
Sheer brilliance.
He marks off everyone on the list, so now we're at that's it. Like, no more suspects. Who else could it be? That's it.
That's when he starts talking to Courtney Cox, and he's like,
he's explaining to her what the problem is, yeah.
And then she's like, well, the staff get it. And then she was
well, first he goes to the they go to the apartment where your man is killed.
Oh yeah.
Or commits suicide. It's claimed to be suicide, and he discovers that no, it's not. One, there's blood on the outside of the railing. How did that get there if he just jumped off? And two,
the neighbor heard the screams.
The neighbor heard the scream, and the door was closed, so he just stands there and screams while he opens and closes the door for a while.
Yeah, because the cop is back in, and she's like, yeah, no, it's just a suicide.
Yeah.
He's like, well, why is there blood on the other side of that railing? Why is that door closed? Yeah. And if she heard, watch this.
It goes for ages. It goes it goes to the point where it's not funny, then keeps going and becomes funny again.
And then there's you see the scene where it cuts out to the cop that he was talking out of his arse to, the colored fella, and
kind of laughing.
You can see the smile coming on his face, and you're like, oh, he got it.
He's got it. But
he walks out and he's like, "Lou is there?"
Yeah, and once he discovers that, he knows that
there's something on the cards.
Yeah, he knows that something is up. That it can't. It's definitely not just like a coincidence. Yeah, he knows something is up. Someone's trying to cover this. Someone got too close. And then obviously it's someone that Courtney Cox's character works quite closely with, and he feels that she is going to be the next target.
So she's the head of relations or something, and he's the general manager of the Dolphins or something.
Yeah, and he's convinced that she is the next one to be on the list. So he insists that she
so Ace gives her the spiel, and he's like, you shouldn't stay alone. She's like, what have you got in mind?
She goes back to his house. The real funny bit about this is all the animals just standing there.
But did you notice when the two of them are at it and the bed's shaking, all the animals are going in sync with it?
Yeah.
The bird, the monkey.
They're all moving with them. Yeah. But
so he's giving Courtney Cox the old heave ho.
Yeah, with all these animals in his apartment. And apparently, like, this must just be a regular thing whenever he brings someone back, that they all just stand there. Yeah. Just stand there and watch him.
Sure.
bit creepy, but you know,
Yeah.
whatever. But he obviously from this he eventually marks off the entire team. He's got the entire team marked off, and
And
she shows him a different picture.
yeah, this is the team photo, and he's like,
He's
"Who
like,
is
"Who's that
that?"
guy? He wasn't in this photo that I've been using."
This
And
is Ray Finkel.
this is Ray Finkel, who was the kicker. Now, obviously, I'm not an NFL guy or anything, but is this an actual thing? Was there a guy called Ray Finkel that missed a kick for the Dolphins back then? Did he cost them the NFL?
No, he was based off Scott Norwood, who missed a kick in the '91 Super Bowl final or Super Bowl against the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, but that is a real thing,
It's
is it?
it's a real thing, but it's not actually a Dolphins player.
Okay, all right.
So they're kind of picking off it. Your man
Right.
apparently missed a kick in the Super Bowl, but the college he played for is the same. Basically it's him just.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they just ripped off a different story and used it here, but it works for
Yeah,
what they're
because
doing here.
that's where they got the second picture from. I'd say the Miami one he's going with, because I'm pretty sure they're all actual players.
Yeah,
But they got cameos in, and then obviously just put Ray Finkel into one of them and was like thing. But we're introduced to Ray Finkel, the kicker who they signed mid-season.
yeah. So they find out that it's Ray Finkel is the killer, is the kidnapper and presumably killer.
No,
Of
not quite. He finds out, he goes to Finkel, and then he's like, "So
no,
what
well,
is it?" And he
it's
was
got
like,
to be
"Ray."
the last person.
Yeah,
So
it was like Ray. Well, it leaves us to believe that, and it's like
yeah,
Ray Finkel missed the kick, and he blames Dan Marino for it, because
Yeah.
in American football you don't hold the laces to where you're going to kick, otherwise you can go askew.
you hold the laces pointing as to where it's meant to go. So
Well, no, you
laces
just hold
out.
it to the back. Yeah.
Yeah, but laces out.
Yeah, laces out, Finkel.
Yeah. So he goes to the home of Ray Finkel, or his parents' house, and the mother is completely deluded here. Oh yeah, he'll be home soon, no problem. Yeah, he'll be home, and the dad is just like, listen to me, she's insane.
Yeah.
Like that boy's not coming home.
Yeah.
And he goes up to the room, and it's just
Marino out, Marino dead.
Die Marino, kill Marino, and he's just he's psychotic, and he finds out that he was in a mental institution for a while.
Yeah.
So
which he escaped from.
Yeah. So what's Face's plan? Well, I better go there. So he gets brought in a pink tutu
and
with his hair all over the place, his shirt, and just he's completely insane. He's just, and this is probably, like, a lot of people would say now that this isn't quite bad taste, because he's basically
taking the piss out of someone that's under high stress and mentally.
Yeah, he's taking this. Yeah, he's making a joke out of people who are have a mental disability of some sort.
Yeah.
And I can get where people are coming from, but at the same time, this wasn't looked at in that way.
At that time, no.
It was just seen as it's pretty funny. Like, he's making a joke out of it, but the whole point is that he has to convince them to let him stay there.
I think this is some of his best.
He does a great job at it, to be fair to him, yeah.
So he goes in under the pretense that he was an ex-NFL player and can't get out of it.
Yeah.
And Courtney Cox is playing along, saying that it's his brother, and he's like, he keeps reenacting different bits from NFL matches. Like, so you'll see him taking a snap from under center. You'll see him running with the ball. You'll see him. He's like, I'm open. And that goes on for about 2 or 3 minutes while they're being shown around.
then he takes a nap.
Yeah, so it gets to a point where they're walking, and Ace knows that he has to stop
Get away.
So he goes, woo, halftime, goes over, takes a drink, gets down on his knees and whacks his head off them.
Yeah.
Courtney Cox plays on with it, and she's like, he's good there for about 20 minutes.
He'll be good there for about 20 minutes or so. Yeah. And your man's just like, yeah, all right. Like, yeah, okay. Because that's exactly how you would treat, people with a mental disability who still think they're in the NFL. Just leave them there. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
But he uses this to then go and
search. Way into it.
Yeah, he goes and looks, and he gets into the security area of where all his all the
Belongings, yeah.
remaining goods and things that were left behind were by previous patients. So he goes to see what's written there, and again, it's just
Marino out.
die Dan, kill Dan,
Laces out.
laces out written everywhere. Yeah, realistically, he doesn't get a whole lot of information from this.
Well,
The one thing he does
not that
get,
we see.
we don't see a whole lot until he finds a newspaper clipping when he has to hide in the box because somebody was coming in. A box that he definitely doesn't fit in. He's destroyed this box, and his legs and head are still sticking out of it. But when it falls apart, he finds this little newspaper clipping of a missing hiker.
The girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Louise Einhorn.
Yeah.
And he's like, Einhorn, Finkel, Einhorn, Finkel. How are they related? How are they connected? How are they connected?
And this is a 2-minute scene where him and the monkey are sitting there going, Finkel and Einhorn, Einhorn and Finkel, Finkel and Einhorn, Einhorn and Finkel, Finkel, Finkel.
Yeah, it's just him repeating it over and over. And this is how he gets to think about it. And he just can't come up with anything. He thinks he's gone crazy until the dog lays down on a picture of Finkel.
Actually, we missed a bit. So back just after the Predactor murder, when he's talking to her in her office, she kisses him.
Yeah. And he makes the comment of, your gun is digging into my leg. Which at the time you don't think anything of. You're like, oh Jesus, that's
rough, isn't it?
I definitely wouldn't want a gun pointing there.
So we go back to Einhorn and Finkel.
And he discovers that
Einhorn,
by the dog lying down on a picture of Finkel.
If you haven't guessed it by now,
frames his face with the dog's hair, and he goes,
Einhorn is Finkel.
And this again, this is another bit that wouldn't stand in today's sort of
snowflake generation.
Well, no, I wouldn't even say it's a snowflake generation because it is a joke that's made in quite bad taste. But
it wasn't bad taste then, though. Well, it might have been, but
back then it wouldn't have been seen as big a deal because I don't know. Like we've learned and evolved as a society, but this probably wouldn't really be accepted because essentially he finds out that she is actually a man and that he has therefore kissed another man.
Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. Yeah.
So he's like scratching his tongue and he's in the shower and he's eating an insane amount of gum. An insane amount of gum that's like a big enough wad to just put his hand and throw out the window later.
Yeah.
But he discovers that Einhorn is Finkel and Dan Marino has been kidnapped because
he's the next target, so he tries to set him up.
He's the ultimate target, yeah.
Yeah, so he has to try to get the cops over to them in time, but the ad that Dan Marino is making is him getting tackled by 2 NFL players and carried out.
Which Einhorn has paid off to be 2
kidnappers.
Yeah, just 2 generic bad guys.
Genius, if you ask me.
Yeah. So they get him into
a van.
Sorry, no. They get him into a van and bring him to. I don't really know what they bring him to. It's kind of just like this broken down
boathouse kind of thing.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
To me, it looks like a place where you go to fix ships or something, little small boats, because they'd be able to drive into the.
Yeah, but it looks really run down as well, which so it's not in use. And Dan Marino is tied up there, and
we see Snowflake.
We see Snowflake is there, so Ace Ventura comes to the rescue because obviously he's worked out what the story is. He knocks out the 2 accomplices.
One with a bucket of fish.
Yeah, the first one with a bucket of fish. Then the other guy goes and gets him, and then he knocks them out by letting a big anchor swing at their heads.
Yeah,
knock them into the water. That's the end of them. We don't see them again.
Yeah.
And then
you don't. You do, don't you? They come back towards. They
don't really come back to do anything. Yeah, they're just kind of knocked out
of the water. Yeah.
And then he jumps down to save Marino.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Dan.
Oh, hi, Dan. I'm here to get you out of here. And that's when Einhorn shows up again
with her big gun that was poking into Ace's leg.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna kill him, and I'm gonna kill that dolphin.
And you're gonna watch,
Yeah,
which
so
is
she's gonna,
kind of sadistic.
yeah, and she was gonna kill the dolphin first because she knew that he would care more about the dolphin being killed than Dan Marino being
Considering
killed.
he has no idea about sport, really.
Yeah. But he cares more about that dolphin, which is fair enough.
Well, that was his job to find the dolphin.
Yeah, but he tackles the gun
Einhorn.
out of her. He tackles Einhorn, gets the gun on the ground, and there's a bit of a fight. And Dan Marino's like, you having a bit of trouble with your lady friend?
Yeah.
Well, she's just cold clocking him around the place.
But you see him, he gets her and he starts nuggying her and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then eventually all the police
So
show up.
Einhorn gets the gun back, calls the police, and says that Ace Ventura is the kidnapper.
Yeah,
and
they
that
all
she needs
show up.
help.
They all show up straight away.
Guns on.
Straight away, they all have their guns on him.
Which is fair because your captain has told you.
Yeah. But Ace is like, no, listen, Einhorn is Finkel.
Finkel is Einhorn.
So he goes over. He goes over after knocking
the gun out of her hand again.
The gun's out of her hand.
And then he lets the twins out.
He's like, look, if she was actually a woman, if she was actually a woman, then she wouldn't need a wig. Ugh.
Oh, this thing's really on there.
Oh, this thing's really glued on. And then he's like, oh well, if she was actually a woman, would she have these? Rips the top open.
The twins are out.
Well, you can get plastic surgery. You can get plastic surgery for that. But if she was really a woman, would she have one of these? Rips the skirt off. Nothing there.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh.
Gets an old wink, wink, nudge, nudge from Dan Marino.
He kind of admits, well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I've been wrong about this. And Dan Marino's. Now the weird thing about this is there's cops everywhere. So like on surrounding the whole building. So sure, like there's cops behind Dan Marino. So surely they've seen this.
Yeah, and Dan Marino calls him over.
Ace, come here.
And he was like, so maybe even the best detectives can be wrong sometimes. But how about we play hide the winky?
Spins Finkel around.
And the twig and giggleberries are tucked away in the back.
Yeah. Gets knocked into the pool.
Yep.
And when this reveal is made, everyone on the police force basically gets sick.
Yeah.
So
which tells you that everybody had fancied her at one stage or had been with her.
Yeah. Does that mean that everyone had at some point hooked up with her?
Or they had imagined it?
Yeah. They all get sick. Every last one of them. But he's captured the
bad guy
perpetrator, and he's saved Snowflake. He doesn't really care about Dan Marino all that much. And Snowflake makes the kick at the next Super Bowl, or at this Super Bowl,
which is the Sunday.
Yeah, always a Sunday.
It's Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
If the Simpsons have ever taught you any piece of information about Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound right. Super Bowl Monday or Tuesday.
No.
You could maybe get away with Super Bowl Saturday, but
yeah. But we see everything works out in the end. Bad guy is caught. Nobody. Well, I mean, one person died. But that's still pretty good going.
Predator dies.
And then he goes to he's at the stadium and he sees the bird and he's like, 25 G's.
This is your white bird. Albino pigeon. And he is no more than 2 feet away.
Sneaking over. And then the mascot comes over. I don't know what mascot is this.
I don't know because
the big bird.
Yeah, it's a big pigeon. The other thing I can think of would be the Seahawks, but it's not the Seahawks.
Yeah, but anyway, that scares the pigeon off. So he starts beating it up.
He's like, "Don't push me." He pushes him. He pushes him back. Then he lands 2 or 3 absolute haymakers.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's on a mask.
Big cushioned head. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he takes him down, and the camera pans to him. He's like, the best pet detective around, lover of all animals, and he's boxing the head off the pigeon.
And then he notices he's on screen, and he's just kind of, hey. Yeah. And our film just ends there. He's the hero of the day. It's a film that watching it back now, when I watch it, I still enjoy it because I enjoyed it when I was.
There's a lot of nostalgia to it. If
Yeah,
you
I
watch that
remember
for the,
enjoying it when I was younger, and as I said to you before, like when I finished up sixth year, I went on holiday with a few people from sixth year, and
yeah, you were saying that.
we are like, oh well, we'll watch that while we're away. Like that'll be one of the films that we watch. So we put that on one of the nights, and then put the second one on straight after. So I still remember it fondly, but I could see why, especially if you were someone who'd never watched this before, that
Yeah.
you would look at it with a very different set of eyes. And if you're not in that age group where those sort of jokes are funny, you probably won't like Jim Carrey, which is
My
potentially
mother,
why he's not that popular anymore, because his style of comedy has kind of died out a bit.
my mother hates him.
Yeah, and I can see
Hates him.
I can see why as a parent, people would hate him, because his style of comedy was just crude toilet humor, really.
Like I'm not sure. I don't think so. He overly likes him that much either.
Yeah, well, as you said, it was a very male
Yeah.
oriented style of comedy, like, you know.
But like he has, I think there's a lot of his movies that are in and around this kind of way. As I said to you earlier, Dumb and Dumber is the same.
Yeah.
Liar Liar is a bit more serious, but he had some of it. Not so much the toilet humor, but the
it's facial
expressions.
Yeah, it's very handsy and facey and stuff like that. Like it's exaggerating, like larger than life sort of stuff that you don't. Some people just don't like that, and I get it. You know.
Yeah.
I get not liking it, but as you and I are both people who did enjoy this film when we were younger, I can see why something like this would never be. Not that it would never be remade, but that you definitely wouldn't be able to use the plot line and the points that were used here.
Well, they did. They kind of remade it with kids, didn't they?
They did, but even that was still in the late 90s.
Then again, they done the same with Rambo, and they done the same with The Mask. Do you remember?
Yeah, but they wouldn't be able to remake it with some of the, like, as we said, like a lot of these jokes and stuff definitely wouldn't be.
This whole thing, like the premise of the story might stay the same, but
yeah, you can still use the story, but yeah,
nearly everything inside it is gone.
A lot of stuff would need to be taken out, like anything, like the gauge, like basically being kissed by another man, being disgusting and sickening. Yeah. The transsexual thing could potentially that could still be used.
I don't think so. I think it'd be a lot of film studios just wouldn't touch it.
They might not touch it, but I don't think there would be that big an issue of that, because they don't really talk too much about the fact that that there's a transgender person. It's more
that scene where he jumps in the bath and he's eating the gum and he's in the shower.
That's the bit that wouldn't be accepted. I think the bad guy being transgender, because he's not bad because he's transgender. He's bad. He's bad because
he's mental.
He's bad because he's mental, and he went transgender to,
facilitate
to make it so to facilitate his plan. Like that was a means to an end. It's not, it's not that he's not bad because of that. That was just a way to get there,
But Finkel is Einhorn.
Yeah. Overall,
I'll still watch it if it's on.
I'd still watch it because I watch it with some nostalgia, but I do understand why other people wouldn't watch it. And I do understand why a lot of people do dislike it. Yeah, for this week, that's everything. So cheers for watching and good luck.
Laces out.
Well, it's time for that part of the show that you all love, the advertisements for our sponsors. I know. None of us really like listening to these, but the truth is that we wouldn't be able to bring you this content without them. So let's just get down to it. First off, Wrestling Mania, the top floor of Stephen's Green Shopping Centre. Really good shop for all of your wrestling needs, whether that's DVDs, title belts, pop figurines, other collectibles, t-shirts, and if you like boxing and MMA, he has stuff there for you too. If he doesn't have something that you want, you can ask him. He'll order it in. No problems. Really nice guy, the owner of this shop. So get on down to Wrestling Mania on the top floor of Stephen's Green Shopping Centre. Oh, what's that? A pandemic? Well, that doesn't mean he's closed. Catch him on Facebook. Just send him a message. He'll sort you out. No problems asked. And our other sponsor, Peter Hart Graphics. Now, this guy has done most of, if not all of the graphics for the Dynamo's podcast network. Really good stuff, guys. Seriously, this is top quality stuff, and he doesn't charge a bomb for it, which is the greatest part. If you need any sort of graphic designed, it's peterhartgraphics@gmail.com. That's Peter, Peter, Hart, Harte, graphics, graphics @gmail.com. This guy is the easiest person I've ever worked with when it comes to making a graphic. You give him your ideas, he'll come back with something similar to what you wanted. And then if it might be exactly what you want, and if it's not, he is so open to criticism and tweaks, and he'll be back to you as soon as you give him what you want updated on that. This is easy stuff to get done. But actually, if you try to do it yourself, you'd realize just how difficult it is to make it look smooth and clean. Not a problem with Peter Hart Graphics. Check out his stuff on his Facebook page, Peter Hart Graphics.